Starting with Aimlabs, 5.4 hours. It's a lab, and you aim. It's like the animal testing scientists that go, put that beast in a situation. Except the whole time the situation is just get those goddamn blue balls off the screen like your next Valorant E-Day depends on it. Sometimes I get sucked into Aimlabs by accident because leaderboard, improvement, funny score number go up, brain happy, you know the drill. While it is a warm-up game, like a training dojo of sorts, at its very core, it's an arcade game. Pretty good if you like practicing getting better at pointing at things. I play it here and there. SNKRX. SNKRX, 15.6 hours. SNKRX is one of the best roguelikes of the 30 I own, and one of the cheapest too. This game is $3, not on sale, and is some of the most fun you'll have for that cheap. It has a similar shop and level up mechanic to Teamfight Tactics, and you'll be happy to know that it copies nothing else from Teamfight Tactics. I personally really like the soundtrack. It's got simple gameplay. Build your snake, kill these tic-tac looking bastards. Every once in a while, you fight a cracked out, bigger tic-tac looking bastard. Don't knock this game till you try it. Costs less than a McChicken and leaves you with a good deal more satisfaction. Personally, yeah, this is an example of a peak game. A Hat in Time, 5.4 hours. Also known as Super Mario Odyssey if you're on a budget. Honestly, A Hat in Time is one of those great games that I just don't give enough time in the day. I mean, my backlog is pretty big and it's just lost in there. It's got fun movement, it's got all these cute little hat power-ups and like collectibles and stuff. It's a very obviously charming game, and I'm sure it wouldn't take that long to beat if I actually just sat and had a session with it. I tried to refrain from putting an unfinished tier in this tier list because it would house a lot of games. That and games can be fun without you finishing them, although with games like this you probably should. I'll put it in the here and there tier because I don't ever have to like groan whenever I boot this game up. It's good, you just need to actually launch it. Risk of Rain, 8.8 hours. Look, I'm sure it's a great game once you get going, but I just don't like the Risk 1 format. I'm sorry. Exploring everything feels necessary, but I feel like it takes too much time to navigate, and I force myself to play on Monsoon. The combat flow just doesn't feel right to me, and maybe I'm spoiled by the sequel. It's a skill issue, and I'll kindly ask you not to dunk on me any further. I'm sorry, but I would refund this game if I could. Celeste, 194.3 hours. Celeste has two mechanics, jumping and dashing, and you can either master them or man up and learn to master them. Because this game is not at all about finding yourself or climbing mountains. There's no real story here. The game is literally just a gateway drug to speedrunning. That timer in the top left, that's your sensei, and it's always watching you with that thin, intense glare, that you can always do better kind of glare. It knows you have that untapped potential to make that top left number gold again and again and again, and it couldn't come packaged with a more compatible soundtrack. And twofold because there's B-sides. This game is amazing, and if you're one of the 3 people who still don't have it, it's never too late. If you don't own Celeste, you still have room for personal growth. The game's in my bloodstream, how about yours? Webfishing, 5 minutes. I only have this dumbass game because my dumbass friend made me buy it, and now I gotta stare at this dumbass cat with dumbass fishing rod. Supermarket Simulator, 3 hours. You know what I want to do after work to unwind? More goddamn work. It literally is a digital retail job. Stock shelves, run register, unload trucks, place orders. I honestly got this because I thought it would be multiplayer, but no. I mistook it for Supermarket Together. Silly me. Noita, 10 hours. I have literally no idea what's going on in this game. I know there's wands, there's really hard to find secrets, every pixel's affected separately or something of that sort. I know you can combine the wands, like what they can shoot, but I don't know, I'm just raw ass at the game and I'm too stubborn to look things up. There's not really a way to conventionally avoid damage, so you gotta play ultra safe where you die in like 3 seconds. The game's just not really for me. Sorry, Noita enjoyers. Ember Knights, 18 hours. I found Ember Knights when I was looking for a local co-op game to play, and it ended up being really fun. It has a decent array of weapons, and about half of them feel actually pretty good to use. I like the way the relics interact with each other. As for the spells, I really only care for Dice, Snowball, and Poison Dart. The true ending's pretty easy to obtain. It's got a heat system similar to Hades. My issue lies with the combat though. This is the most involved I've ever been with any hack and slash. And I get that that's part of the point of a hack and slash, is to press a bunch of buttons and deal a bunch of damage. But it's like almost too much of the same thing, and my hands start hurting after a run? I don't know if that's supposed to happen. The game's alright, but the gameplay loop gets boring after a little while, and I pay a slight physical price when I play, so we'll be putting this in the begrudging boot ups. Your only move is hustle. 12.1 hours. So, you know those badass stick fight animations you grew up watching? And maybe you thought to yourself, damn, I wish I could do that. Look no further than this $5 hidden gem on Steam. Go in, kick up an online match. In about 10 to 15 minutes, or 3 minutes if you're getting absolutely rolled, you'll have one of the most crazy action-packed stick fighter scenes you probably have ever seen. It's pretty intricate, but seasoned fighter players will feel pretty much just at home. You can set directional influence, see frame data, do cancels. You have all the tools you need. I still have no idea what the hustle mechanic even is, but it doesn't matter. As soon as that match is over, win or lose, it's a good watch every single time. It's almost like chess in a fighting game. It does get a bit dull whenever your opponent is timing out the timer, going through every single option on every single turn, but give and take. I'm putting in plenty of clips. I'm sure you get the gist of what I'm talking about, and you can't deny that it looks awesome. My only real gripe is that I absolutely despise the robot character, and despite all the praise that I gave it, I do begrudgingly boot this game up. Take out robot and this would be peak, just saying. Alright, let's speedrun some of my throwaway titles. Guilty Gear Xrd Rev 2. I don't know, I bought it because it was cheap and I like Guilty Gear Strive. BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle. Same reason as the last, just with BlazBlue. Unrailed. I don't know, man, I was bored. I don't want this game anymore. A Dance of Fire and Ice is fun, but I would just much rather play Osu. Gumball Run is completely free but really dead, and it's also the most fun, most shit game that I have. Weird balance, I know. I literally just bought Jump King and I want my money back. I'ma beat it though. Look, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you 8 different times, oh, this is a party game and you'll enjoy it with your friends. They're all getting lumped together. They're good enough games. And to close out the fast segment, if you're still in comedy night, seek help. Well, after a speed segment like that, I think it's only appropriate I talk about a game I love. Baba Is You. 96.6 hours. I'm in love with brain teasers like it's some kind of fetish, and it's just been that way for as long as I can remember. But Baba Is You goes above any other brain teaser. It scratches this very weird particular itch that I have. My attachment to this game, not necessarily just by the hours, but in the bond that I've created with this game. It's like having another parent. And the soundtrack, man, these are the most calmest bops I've ever heard. I could seriously listen to some of these for hours, and I'm sure that's by design because some of these puzzles will take you hours. Baba Is You has this simplistic beauty to it where it takes very simple game rules and creates satisfying and creative puzzles out of them. Game rules like move this obstacle out of the way, put this key into the door, remove this animal from existence. It's just what kind of madman thinks to have tangible game rules? And I love that a good handful of these have multiple solutions, so it really sets the stage for your brain to kinda do its own thing. I've been playing on and off for years, and I still have a large handful of untouched and unsolved levels. But I still come back. Just like that one woman that is no good for me, I still come back. Except Baba Is You is good for you. So, while not sponsored, buy the game. It has no story, but I guarantee you it will change you. Have a Nice Death. 66.4 hours. I want you to have a seat. I gotta explain something to you, okay? When a woman and a man love each other very much, but you take the woman and you replace her with skilled animators, and you take the man and you replace him with amazing game devs, they get in bed and they get busy quick, alright? And then 9 long agonizing dev cycles later, a miracle is brought into this world in the form of this game. Fast-paced roguelike combat, weaving in your main attack with your 2 spell slots, a rage meter that enhances any attack you choose, all with stunning animation alongside each one. The team behind this game can make a game about sweeping floors, and I'm sure it would still feel amazing. You can just tell they cared about the beauty of this game way more than my father ever did about me. Some of my favorite things about the game are the Twinsy starting scythe, the curse system for selecting your purse, the prism spell, and there's a lot more honestly, but I need a whole nother video to fully appreciate this game. My only real gripe is it definitely has a high skill floor. You can't just run in your first hour on autopilot, and even after some getting used to, the game proves to be quite challenging. And fuck this Stormcloud boss guy. I hate him. Not that this game didn't succeed, but I wish it was much bigger. I feel like it isn't talked about or appreciated enough in the online roguelike scene, and I'd change that if I was bigger. Definitely a peak game. Lies of P, 7.6 hours. I'm not super far in this game at all, but it's fun and it's a Souls-like. I like Souls-likes, although I do need to get my shit together because at the time of recording this, they just announced Lies of P 2. It's a good game. I'll beat it soon. And speaking of Souls-likes that I don't have completed in my library, Death's Gambit, with very similar hours to Lies of P and probably very similar progress. I can't really give an opinion. I can't say it's like good or bad because it's just been so long, but by virtue of the fact that I've had it for years and I'm nowhere close to finishing it, I'd probably just rather take my money back. And here I am to triple down on this unfinished Souls-like point, with Hollow Knight at 5.9 hours. Again, similar time, similar progress. I think I've killed 2 bosses in this game. I have really got to hammer out my backlog this year. I know this game is good. And to quadruple down on... Nah, I'm just kidding. I would consider Tunic more of a Zelda-like anyway, and I also literally have less than an hour of playtime. Look man, if I was allowed to stay at home and play video games all day, maybe I'd get more of this shit done. So what I'm hearing though is we might as well just close out the Souls category. So let's start with my first, Sekiro, 66.5 hours. This game was my humble introduction to FromSoft. The Chained Ogre first boss fight literally took me hours. I feel like the dancing style of combat that they have in that game sort of helped ease me into the genre, even though most of the others don't function like that at all. It was honestly a great way to get my feet wet in the genre, and even though I prefer like grandiose, creepy, or weird ass monster designs, not to say Sekiro doesn't have them, but it definitely doesn't have like as much as the other installments. Regardless, they did a fantastic job. It got Game of the Year for a reason. Definitely was a definitive experience in my gaming life. Then, following Sekiro, I gave Dark Souls 3 a try, 143.8 hours. This game absolutely knocked the wind out of me. My first playthrough was pretty much completed solely using the halberd you get from the shop, but I noticed I had way more fun on my second playthrough where I picked up the Irithyll straight sword, and then we just rocked with that for like the rest of time. I don't have this deep introspection for Dark Souls 3. I'm not too big of like a Souls lore guy, but the game looks cool, and Souls games always are super rewarding on the first playthrough, and that's that feeling that I chase all the time. I'm always waiting for just the next Souls-like opportunity to open up, just so I can get that feeling of overcoming a big-ass dude again. This game, plus all its DLC, was probably my favorite first-time Souls experience ever, and with that, it goes right in my bloodstream. And finally, Elden RIng. 233 hours. Elden RIng completely shook the gaming industry, and it took absolute hold of my life. When this game came out, I played it for every single second I could. Before work, after work, my entire weekend, I played it until it was done. I mean, what can I even say about this game that hasn't been said by millions of people? It's fucking beautiful. It's some of the most immersed I've ever been in a world. And as someone who really appreciates creature design, they absolutely cooked. We got way more than we could hope for in the DLC. Again, Game of the Year for a reason. I can't imagine any one of you watching hasn't touched it at least a single time. Absolutely in my bloodstream. My only gripe with these Souls games is that I can't rewind time and experience them for the first time again.
I say,
Wizard 101. No, I don't have it on Steam, but there's some PC games I have that I want in this list anyway. I don't know my hours, but you could measure them in months. I feel like I'm on the hot seat right now. I feel like I'm setting myself up for something bad. But god damn it, I love this game. This is the only MMO I ever played, and I definitely started by downloading it behind my dad's back when he told me not to when I saw the commercial on the TV, and he was pissed, but he never removed it. And you bet your ass he wasn't paying for those extra areas. Let me do my best to break down why I like this game, because I feel like it's going to be really difficult. Because the game isn't very transformative. You run around, you talk to this guy, you talk to this guy, you fight some shit, you do some boss fights, you do fetch quests in the form of like defeat and collect, and they're all chance based, so it's not guaranteed, and sometimes they do take really long. Sometimes there's a puzzle involved, you occasionally go out of your way for a new spell. The only thing that changes is the scenery. The gameplay loop is almost obnoxiously simple, and I'm not gonna act like some high and mighty critic and say that that's the hidden beauty of the game. I think this just might be one of those things where I just genuinely like what's going on in the game. I like the pet system, I like the other activities you can do, like the gardening. There's PvP I never took part of, and I wasn't always alone. I had a really close friend who, him and I over a long time span, have our playthrough in Mirage. I mean, hell, the only genuine reason I don't play this game anymore is because I just actually have to spend my time doing other things. It's the same thing with my unfinished game. If I had more of the free time, I would. And I still think this could genuinely make for a really good game for you and all your friends to sit down and play. I mean, of course it's got its flaws. Despite its updates, it's still visually out of touch. The monetization system sucks. The first arc, which is the first 5 worlds, are still not free. Seriously, it's been over 15 years. Push the paywall forward. But despite all this, I would still fire it up tomorrow if I had nothing to do. I would buy 3 other people and myself a membership just to run around the spiral with a full party again. It is seriously one of my favorite games of all time, and all I can say is if you know, you know. Osu. Again, I have no idea how much time I have. I have been playing Osu for about 9 years, and realistically, right, this should go in It's in My Blood, because I like tap to music. in real life when I'm listening to it as if I were playing an OC map. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a sign of addiction, but let's ignore those potential issues. As it stands, I play it here and there. Great game. Can we do a couple quick ones? Let's do some quick ones. Fury is a pretty cool bullet hell boss rush game that I'm sure if you were good enough, like not even a speedrunner, you probably could beat this game and have time to refund it. Not that you would, because it's fucking awesome and comes with a really good soundtrack. I'm a pretty big fan of this game's unique combat system, and it's really peak. Lost But Found is a very cute game about organization and micromanagement, but only play it if you're ready to handle the immense stress it comes with. I bought Friends vs. Friends with a friend for one session. I'm sure it was cheap, but I want my money back. A friend bought me RoboQuest for one session, and I want his money back. Ghost Runner is easily one of my biggest backlog offenders. It's an extremely fluid combat platformer, and I don't need to play more than 2 or 3 levels to know its peak, but I would like to finish it. You might legitimately be able to copy-paste exactly what I just said about Ghost Runner about Katana Zero. I haven't played Scrap Mechanic in about 2 years, but I would boot it up when I was feeling smart, and then I would leave it feeling dumb. It's good and it's fun. It's just for nerds. I bought Ibn Ob for me and a friend for one session, and honestly it's a pretty fun puzzle game, but I never booted up, so I want my money back. I remember buying Honey Pop because I used to watch playthroughs of it and think, wow, this looks pretty easy, and totally not because I want to jerk off to anime girls. And even if I wanted to, I'm too shit to finish the dates, so I haven't even seen any. Rogue Legacy 2 and Gunfire Reborn are 2 of just the least fun roguelikes I've ever played, and I like to think I gave both of them a pretty decent chance with the time I gave. Maybe someone in the comments can help me see the light, but I'm not feeling either of these games. Doom Eternal literally refuses to run because of my drivers, but I don't want my money back because I believe someday I will get it to work, and it did work at one point, and yes, it was really fun. And to conclude my second rapid fire segment, Cult of the Lamb. I haven't played this game in years, but I had one really long session with it, and I think I got about halfway through. I love the art style and the interactions and the village theme, but I don't think the combat was all that great. Ballionaire. 16.4 hours. Ballionaire is Cocomelon for adults cleverly masked in the phrase Plinko roguelike, because big numbers and a barrage of cartoon sound effects is an effective gameplay loop, and that shit worked on me, so you bet your ass it is.
Alright, I feel like I can run in. I might run in and just parry on reaction. Let me fucking move!
2XKO. I played the shit out of this alpha test. I personally have been itching for a good new tag fighter, and I've been hyped for 2XKO since they first announced it as Project L. It's a tag fighter where you can actually play with a friend. I just don't feel like there's too many of those. The combos in the game absolutely just flow. People spamming level 2 supers got old pretty fast. The Ahri assist damage scaling reset was absolutely an issue. Darius, just like in League, is a fucking tumor. And for Christ's sake, across every fighting game I've ever played, I've never heard a worse pick for an announcer.
Select your fighters! The X! Darius wins! Let's go!
The game was really peak though, and I'm very excited for the re-release, assuming Riot doesn't lay the whole 2XKO team off. Brawlhalla, 997.2 hours. That number is not easier to swallow when said out loud. Now, before I shit on the game, let me highlight its pros. I will be goddamned if I spend another picosecond of my precious existence on Earth ever firing up this game again. Every time I turn it on, it's just these disproportionate Fortnite taunting, sig spamming apes jumping around my screen for 2 to 4 minutes until someone wins. There is zero true neutral, online rubber bands frequently leading you to the false promise of even a 2-hit combo. I spent my money on this free game that I despise, and it isn't even fun with friends. Leaving the game felt like beating addiction, and I'm suffering zero withdrawal. For the King, 30.5 hours. For the King is perfect for people who are into D&D-like games but don't actually have time for D&D. The campaigns will still take a while, like a few hours or a few short sessions, but I can promise you fun. Between the ragdolls, absolute shit misses, and plenty of other fun tidbits of the game, For the King is a worthwhile play once in a while. Undertale, 4.8 hours. I did one standard playthrough of Undertale, streaming it to my 2 friends on Discord, making every overused joke possible the entire way through. And I wouldn't take any of that back. I think it was the best way to enjoy the game. Although, I'm having some trouble ranking it. It's a straightforward RPG that I've watched at least 10 playthroughs of. And just through gameplay, honestly, I can't say I'd recommend it. But that soundtrack, you can hate the fandom, you could not appreciate the game. That OST is nearly unmatched. I listen to Undertale music at the gym, at work, when I'm reading, drawing, editing, sue me. The game genuinely deserves peak tier just because it's non-stop masterful music craft. Borderlands 3, 176.6 hours. This game is just the how do you do fellow kids guy, and while it tried so hard to fit in, it has no place in my library. Borderlands, Gearbox, Randy. We had such a good thing going. So why exactly did we ruin it all? I legitimately believe with my whole heart that whoever thought a mission encountering the big suck gun within the first hour of gameplay might need backed over with a big rig. This game just pisses me off for a multitude of reasons. Let me count the ways. Bad writing. Reese himself. Influencer villain. Maya dies for no conceivable reason other than shock value. Legendaries legitimately do spawn too often, and it leads them to feel way less rewarding. And you know what one of my biggest gripes is? This game actually had some pretty cool mechanics. The anointed guns that give certain bonuses for matching certain criteria. I thought the artifacts were pretty cool with elemental slides and elementally infused ground pounds. They finally added vaulting to a Borderlands game. I actually like the vault monster bosses. The cyclone vehicle is really sick, and the new vault hunters are great, but it's just an ounce of gold buried in a ton of shit. And this massive fall from grace from the previous installment baiting me into dropping a whole Benjamin on release night for the digital deluxe edition left me emptier than my wallet after completion. I hate this game, and if they fumble Borderlands 4, I'm going postal. Helldivers 2, 15.3 hours. I liked Helldivers, my first 3 days of play. Screaming democracy and airstriking bugs was a really good way to pass the time for a bit. I even typically played with a full party of friends, so why I got so detached from the game is beyond me. I don't know if I just didn't want yet another game to grind, if I was just bored, if I sucked at it, or if I just didn't like missions taking 40 minutes. I was well immersed and the game was visually really good, but the game fell off for me faster than it probably should have. I personally would take my money back, but I don't think it's a bad game. Dead Cells, 15.1 hours. I am not at all good at this game, but every time I fire it up, I think I will randomly lock in and beat it. I get on and I give it the old college try. I think I made it to the clock tower once. The weapons and movement are both fun and it makes for a solid time waster. Spellbreak, 4 hours. This game dropped into the battle royale scene like a french fry in the ocean. You don't remember it and you don't need to. How long has it been since I talked passionately and positively about a game? Risk of Rain 2. 1,700.4 hours. My most played game on Steam. Holy actual Christ, do you know what you can do with 1,700 hours? I have 2 instruments in my room. That's 850 hours per instrument. I could have been the second coming of Chris Christodoulou by now and been making the soundtrack for Risk of Rain 3. I mean, where do I start with this video game? Well, this game has done more than provide me entertainment. This game has provided me with a platform. This game has made me money. This game has let me form a community for a time. And while I've pretty much stopped playing entirely, and for a while now, no thanks to how that second DLC panned out, it has allowed me to build an audience and grow and to feel like I have a chance out here to experience something I didn't imagine I would. I haven't made it on YouTube. I'm nowhere near making it on YouTube. But for that little bit that I was uploading this game, it was sure as hell feeling like it. This game has changed me and some of my gaming expectations. It's super fun and no doubt it's integral to me. And while the spark to play is pretty much gone, I still love the game very much, and no doubt I got way more than my money's worth. The only thing I could say about this game is thank you. And really quickly, I will just shoehorn in Risk of Rain Returns because, well, I still don't like the Risk of Rain 1 format, but I do love the Providence trials and they need added in Risk of Rain 2. Balatro, 81.3 hours. Does anyone have any legitimate criticism for the game? Is it possible not to like Balatro? Let's ask some negative reviews. This game is mostly luck. Just like most skill issue, I bet you're not spending your resources properly. This game is analogous to a casino, built on the edge of a knife of boredom. What kind of Shakespearean bullshit is this guy trying to spit about a card game? The edge of the knife of boredom? Brother, you have more hours than me and I love this game. Boring. Nah, okay, this review is pretty valid. Nah, but for a poker game, this has so many interactions and little combos you can do. It's extremely satisfying. I just like everything about the game. I don't know, what do you want from me? The Escapists 2, 27.7 hours. I certainly begrudgingly boot this game up. It's fun doing all the prison stuff and feeling sneaky and coming up with cool plans, but I feel like getting caught and going into lockdown and having your plan progress reset is comparable to like falling and getting over it or only up. So yeah, skill issue, but what can you do? Legends of Runeterra is kind of a weird one. I mean, I spammed it on first release. I really like card games. It was really cool to see the champions that I like in a completely different setting, and it was a different avenue to explore the universe a little bit deeper. But honestly, there's a million keywords in the game that you, well, not have to remember because you can hover them to read them, but there's still a ton. The solo mode Path of Champions doesn't keep me very engaged. The game's okay, honestly. I just use it to look at card art more than anything. Bloons Adventure Time Tower Defense is honestly a pretty good Bloons game. I like the character progression and relic system, and I'm pretty sure those 132 hours were all in the same month. As far as Bloons Tower Defense 6 goes, look, either you like Bloons games or you missed some core development growing up. I usually play this when there's nothing to do. I forgot to put tabletop in party tier. I genuinely can't believe they're still supporting Dungeon Defenders too. I gotta be insanely bored to boot this game up. Slap City is exactly as fun as it looks, but it's pretty tough to play alone. Heroes of Hammerwatch is a bit too grindy for me without the payoff of usual grindy games. Peglin is still fun to play on occasion. One Step for Mean is alright, but it's pretty complex. And it's just missing something, and I couldn't tell you what it is. Tiny Rogues is easily one of the best pixel games I own. I would really give that a try if you get the chance. Windblown is very flashy and has fun combat mechanics. I especially like that you dap someone up to get your power-ups. I just need some time to get better at it. Grand Blue Fantasy vs. Rising is such a good fighter. I'm a big fan of the characters and their combo system. I got to S rank with Sora's and I never touched the game again. I 100%ed Wizard of Legend back in 2018 and I have hardly touched the game since. It's alright, it's just a lot of slinging bullshit everywhere, but I hardly want to play it anymore. I want to beat Bread and Fred, but no one wants to play it and solo is so boring. And lastly, for the final speed segment, League of Legends. Bad. Alright, as fun as it would be to be the next person to say League bad and leave it at that, I can't. My account level's 240, I've got some opinions. So, I started Season 9 and played until 13. Not too much ranked, just usually with some friends or myself. I like it and I like the rush that comes with making a really good play. And I usually play with some friends. But losing in League just kinda comes with this mounting dread, and it's just not fun. I mean, more things in League other than losing are not fun, but you know. But you can just feel it, it changes the room entirely when everyone's trying and getting shit on. And losing in League of Legends is such a long process. It can take from 15 minutes to 40 minutes to 60 minutes. And the whole time you're just wondering why you even booted up. And the bar for entry of this game is just so damn high. Every single game, you need to know what 10 characters do. You need to know their cooldowns. You need to know what your runes do. You need map awareness. And that's not even half of the things that you need to learn about this game. I can't fucking believe this game doesn't have a tutorial yet, like a fleshed out one. It is 15 years old, there's no goddamn excuse. This shit just sucks, man. I like a handful of these characters too. I love the universe, and I do actually like the complex intricacies of the game, but it just comes with this ever-stacking baggage. I want to love League so bad, but it just does everything in its power not to be lovable, so yeah, League bad. Rivals of Aether, 38.2 hours. Rivals of Aether already gets ahead of the curve beyond any other platform fighter just by virtue of having turbo mode. I like the character spread and the soundtrack is fitting. Although usually if you get knocked off, you're stuck ping-ponging back and forth because your recoveries are pretty limited and air dodging is shit. And the mod support for this game is awesome. I usually have a good time playing this. Lethal League Blaze, 12.6 hours. This game's so fun. From the soundtrack to the dynamic backgrounds to just doing whatever you want with the ball to destroy your opponent's brain and then health bar. Wildfrost, 121 hours. Wildfrost is super unique. This is not, oh my god, another roguelike deck builder. Wildfrost put some sauce on it. This game is beautifully complex, and I like to sit and strategize. It's somewhat easy the first area, but you'll get nowhere in a game if you don't stop and think. And your reward for building a good run is very satisfying. It's got a few deck archetypes, and you can build around a charm as well. I find this game extremely hard to put down once I get going. Them's Fightin Herds, 15.8 hours. Fightin Herds lost development support in 2023, and they released their last characters in 2024. Which is really sad. This game was something special. Surface level, sure. It's a My Little Pony fighter that had to be reskinned with original characters, but I've got a bias towards game with combo freedom. Long combos are some of my favorite skill expression, and this game is all about that. I really like this set of characters, and it's got dynamic music depending on who you're playing. It's not the most polished and precise fighter, but it's a passion project game, and I can totally get behind that. I got this game because a friend asked me to. I don't want to learn it, and he beats my ass real bad all the time. Please send help. Overcooked 2, 10.1 hours. Overcooked 2 is a great above party games. This shit is a bonding game. Getting through a tough map on Overcooked 2 with the boys is like getting through a tough work shift. And I think the game's amped a bit if you or any of your friends have had a food job. It's fun to assign everyone roles, it's fun to yell at each other for messing up. I've even had my share of fun just playing alone. I think this is one of the best co-op games ever. Mortal Kombat 1, 47.2 hours. Coming from a lifelong Mortal Kombat player, this game is certainly one of the best. I love the cameo system, I've had some fun in the invasion towers, and as usual, I don't give a shit about the story. I just have two gripes. I think getting Fatal Blow for free at low health is pretty lame, and you already have to guess whenever someone's gonna throw you, and now you have to guess what direction in order to tech it properly. I certainly prefer other fighters before this one, but I still play it sometimes. Marvel Rivals, 101.7 hours. This is it. This is the most fun hero shooter I've ever played. Here are my stats, judge me as you wish. This game's peak. Guilty Gear Strive, 30.3 hours. Visually, I really like Strive. I feel like you need to work a bit too hard for combos though, and resources just seem so limited. As much as I want it to be, this game's not for me. Astral Ascent, 32.9 hours. I love the way the Zodiacs are represented in game. The combat is both flashy and quick. Sometimes indicators and attack patterns are kind of a problem, but shit, that's my only gripe. You get 4 rotating spells, all of which are augmentable and customizable with these little Gambit bonuses. Cool shit that betters your whole run like aura powers, echoes, stones. You can make some insane stuff happen in game. They have a lot of support and quality of life for this game, and it takes a little getting used to on startup, but I really liked it once I got going. Grapple Dog, 15.5 hours. So I'm in the Steam store once upon a time and I want to race a friend in a new game. I found Grapple Dog on sale and on level 1 immediately we both were like, holy shit, this is some satisfying platforming. Any game that plays with momentum deserves bonus points. It's a cutesy platformer that has its special set of moving parts and the only thing I don't care for is the soundtrack. I play it here and there, but it's certainly worth a full playthrough. The game has a sequel, but I kinda only own it as a meme because it came out on my birthday and it's pretty obscure. I'm not very far into it, but it's just more Grapple Dog with a second character. Palworld, 32.5 hours. Palworld is what every Pokemon fan has waited forever to play. I mean, sure, we've gotten Pokemon Go and Legends Arceus, but Palworld took it all a step forward, ignoring the lawsuits. And aside from how brute the game is in nature, what with shooting farm animals square in the dome and forcing slave-like labor upon them, it finally felt like we could play realistic Pokemon. Getting to actually fly and ride around on your pals was pretty cool. Personally, the game really falls off around level 30 to 35 though, because the grinding just becomes immense and I stopped having fun. But my first 2 weeks, Palworld was really fulfilling, but I just don't see me doing another playthrough, so ranking this one is a bit weird. Divinity Original Sin 2 Definitive Edition, 105.9 hours. I know it's made by the same studio, but just imagine Baldur's Gate 3 but whittled down a bit. You still have interactive dialogue, creative solutions, skill checks, and turn-based combat. It just isn't as prestige and polished, and that's perfectly fine. My guess is my group playthrough got about halfway or the save wiped. Honestly, I don't remember. Maybe we just stopped playing. However, I have a playthrough 2 missions from beating the game alone, and I can't say I pay attention to the story much, but it's fun watching my Wind Mage dwarf blow shit up. Baldur's Gate 3, 95.4 hours. Okay, so everything I said about Divinity, times 10. Again, I'm in a group playthrough, not finished at all, I think like Act 3, but the way our characters are so different and how our combats play out is just so funny. And that's just how I'd describe Baldur's Gate. The game is just funny. Not too often do we get super screwed by an encounter. I just find myself having a lot of fun with my friends. Bonus points that I can be naked and I'm a fiend for collecting the colorful scrolls. Look, I'm not here to review games in full, just my personal experience with them. Borderlands 2, 577.5 hours. I love Borderlands 2. I didn't get to play this on console, so I got it on my first decent laptop. I stayed up late plenty of school nights playing, and what I think is insane is not even half the humor is completely dated. The game still carries pretty well, the DLCs hold up really well, there's only one character I don't care for and he's the equivalent of playing fucking Mario in Smash Bros. There's only one chapter in the game that I don't care for. I've 100%ed all the base missions twice, some of the drop farming is actually fun, and the raid bosses, while by design are impossibly hard, I like that. It makes you do some build and gun optimization and really focus on what you want to use. Oh, and Torg Flexington was a blessing to the list of iconic game characters. This game is absolutely in my blood, and I wouldn't mind another playthrough very soon. Street Fighter 6, 108.3 hours. Unrelated, but I actually wanted to do a Street Fighter 6 character themes tier list video, but let's stick to the topic at hand for now. This game's pretty good. I wish getting both character passes and the game wasn't $100, but that's modern gaming. I like the mechanics, drive gauge, burnout, and drive impact parrying. It feels like it all makes sense, most of the time. Aki, a Street Fighter newcomer, is one of my favorite characters I've ever picked up for a main across any game. I would only recommend this on sale, but I think this is peak fighter. Hades, 32.5 hours. Hades is just so expansive for a roguelike. Plenty of deep character dialogue, individual interactions. I like the way it paths and plays. 6 weapons to choose from, and you can't tell me you don't like any of them. I really like the permanent upgrades and the relics, and it's just the right amount of difficult. This game is definitely art, and I owe it more time. Valorant. I can't give you time spent on this game, but I can tell you I'm level 327. This shit is a drug. I don't even know if I like the game or if the sound psychology of multi-kills was by design to keep me hooked. No, that's exactly why I like the game. Winning comes second to fishing for an ace. The game makes me feel so good. Even though akin to League, losing is a long and drawn out process, but hey, you can't expect to win them all. I like a good array of the skin designs and characters, and I hate half the maps, but I'm $80 deep and I need to tell myself a reason to keep firing it up. Darkest Dungeon, 86.3 hours. I've sunk quite some time into this game and I've never finished a campaign. I usually just check out once my favorite party gets wiped, but it's a good game. Deep Rock Galactic, 21.5 hours. I used to see a million memes about rock and stone this and rock and stone that, but I get it. I really like the variety of missions and I do exclusively play with friends, but it really does feel like you're all on a real expedition, and it's fun getting those missions done. Rock and stone forever. Enter the Gungeon, 283.5 hours. Gungeon is one of the best roguelikes to date and it's hardly even close. If I ever need to kill 40 minutes to an hour, I can pretty confidently boot this game up and win, and have a damn good time doing it. It's so good, so damn good. Raven's Watch, 119.4 hours. I've had my eye on Raven's Watch since first early access release, and I won't lie, I wish they wouldn't have released it without at least 3 chapters out. But with each and every update that I played, I was more and more satisfied with the product. And once 1.0 came out, I really got hooked. The flow of the game is pretty unique, with each stage being on a time limit. You need to really lock in and figure out how to navigate the map well, just to have the highest chance of winning your run. I think the enemy scaling in multiplayer is just a little bit harsh, and sometimes it can really be hard to get that ball rolling to get your run in order. But overall, I love how different the game is and the talents that come with the characters. The final boss is kinda lackluster in my opinion, but that does not douse my enjoyment for the rest of the game. This is a very peak roguelike and it has a roadmap for future updates, so don't sleep on it. Slay the Spire, 349 hours. Yippee! Deck builder roguelike, except this is just the best one. This is the best deck builder roguelike. I'm so excited for Slay the Spire 2, but let's stay on topic. The combo potential for these decks is almost unlimited. There's so much that comes to mind when I think of fun decks that I just can't sit here and name them all. Sure, it's a combat deck builder, but every encounter starts to feel like a puzzle, with calculating block and optimizing your attacks as the ascension levels go up. And you know what, maybe I just made the game sound lame as hell, but it's endless fun for me. I'm so excited for that sequel. Terraria, 975.2 hours. Okay, so I'm kind of cheating here because I did play and beat Terraria on the 360, but this is Terraria, and on PC, it's just a different game. I've had countless 8+ hour sessions on this damn game. It's just so fun, and it's not even like Minecraft where you get that 2-week itch and then you just abandon the world. And I think it's because you can feel the progression a little bit better, what with all the boss fights, but finishing a master mode playthrough was some of the most fun I've ever had. Dying to your literal first encountered enemy in 3 hits, it really changes your playstyle and makes you think. And if I had the time, I'd sit here and talk about modded, but just go play it. It's $10. The Binding of Isaac, 1100.6 hours. This is it. This is my favorite game. Cut and dry. This is my favorite game. I love this crying ass baby. I've been playing Isaac since 2016, not too long before the Afterbirth Plus expansion dropped. And man, I was so damn awful at this game at first too. I recall having a 70 loss streak at some point, like holy actual garbage. But I wanted all the unlocks. I wanted that 100% file. I got into the modded side of things and played some Anti-Birth, and then lo and behold, it's part of the official game with Repentance, which just has a godly OST, might I add. This game introduced me to my favorite YouTuber, shouts out Northern Lion, I've been watching forever, and honestly, I think this is what makes a game perfect. There's just such an insane array of characters to pick from, so many synergies, exploits, ways to play. You can really get creative with your item and consumable usage. I have my Dead God file, and I'm gonna keep playing. Look, I was born too late to explore the world and born too early to explore space, but I'm in the same timeline as The Binding of Isaac, and if I could only keep one game in my library, you bet your ass it would be this one.